Hi everyone, I'm going to go over how to create a Google site from scratch and add pages, edit your pages, add a form and making the form public, as well as adding a slider and making that slider public. So everything that we have learned over the past 3 weeks will be summarized in this video tutorial. So the easiest way to access Google Site, you can go through this panel here that I've shown you in the past, but you can also just type in Google Site. I'll just take you to the sign-in page, and I'm already signed in. And let's say this is the page that I want to work on. So I have my page here, and I have my gallery, and one of the requirements for the final project is to have a couple of sub pages like you have here with the form. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my pages, and there's a couple of things you could do. So I could just simply add a new page and maybe call it photography. And then maybe add another page and call it design. Now I can simply grab these two pages and put it underneath the gallery, and I can, if I want this to be on the top, I can just move it around. It's literally drag and drop, and now you can see that I have my gallery page that includes the drop down menu. So this is what you need to have for the final submission, and you can choose whatever area that you want to create the gallery, but each of these pages needs to have 6 original photos that are compressed for the web. So I received some of the websites that I received from a few of you that the one page, for example, would include 3 or 4 pictures, and each picture would be over 2 megabytes each. That is huge for the web, so which means that the user has to wait for those items to download, which is definitely something that you don't want to do, because a lot of the times the user will just leave. So that's how you make the sub galleries. If you need to delete a page, you can simply right click it and delete that page. And that's basically it. So for the final project, you definitely need to have 2 separate galleries, and if you already made one, literally just grab it and put it underneath of this tab. And it could say gallery, or if you want to call it something else, that's fine. You can call it portfolio. So that is up to you how you want to name it. So that is part 1. This is how you add pictures and how you add sub pages to your main navigation bar. So I'm going to click on my form. I'm just going to delete this form. So I've asked you to basically make sure that your form is set to public. So so what you want to do, so the form and the slider that you want to add to your pages should be set to public. So I'm going to go back to my root here by just clicking this button, and as you move down, so if I click here, you'll see the basically all the items that I can add to my page. So I'm going to show you the forms and how to make it public, and then the slider and how to make it public. So I'm going to click on forms, and I've already created one for the purpose of what we're doing here, so that we don't have to spend a lot of time. So it's DGN 340. I use one of these templates to create it, and if I double click it, it just loads up. But actually it's 2022, And you can make any modification that you wish with this form, change the way that it looks, add content to it, and so on. But right now we're just gonna not do that. So this is the important part that you need to change in order to make your form public. So I'm gonna go over these two settings here. And you can actually, modify the actual templates here as well, if however you want to do it. If I want to change maybe the color, I could just do that and so on. So here you click on responses, making sure this is set to on. Click on the settings and drop the responses open. You want to make sure this is off. Allow responding edits should be on, and this should be off. Limit one response. So we want to turn this off, and all these should be off. I guess you could turn show progress bar if we wanted to, but it's on, doesn't matter. You can send a confirmation message. Thank you for submitting your contact info, or you can just change it to whatever message you want to include. You can have the results to show up. And now we collect the default emails by default. And so these should be on. So these are on. So the only one that you need to change is this option, required sign-in limit to one response. So that's in the settings. Then if I come back here, you can, if you want to change some of the the text options, you can do that. You can choose an image for the top banner, and sort of modify it so it did not, yeah, there we go. Okay, so I'm gonna go back out here. So these are the settings you need to modify here, and of course you want to make sure you've signed in with your email. So this, it updated the picture and it updated the fonts and so on. So now when I'm going to go back here, now I'm going to go back and click on the slider, and let's say this is the slider that I want to use, DGN340 slider. I'm going to double click it to load it on the page and make any type of modification that I want to. Then from the share option, when you click it, by default it's set to restricted. So you want to change that to anyone with a link, and you want to say done. So now I'm gonna so we've kind of fixed the slider so it's visible to everyone, and I'm going to go back to my site, my Google site, and now let's go back here. So this is the page I was working on. So let's say if I want to have a slider of 6 of my pictures here on the design page, obviously you're going to create it in the slider, and then now I can come back down here, choose the slider, click the step 1 that I recently named and made public, and that would be my slider, and I'm going to make it much larger so it fits the space, make sure that it's centered to the page. So that would be, for example, the photography page. So, and you can make specific modification. You can have it set to auto start, have it to loop. So you have a bunch of options here that you can customize. But basically this is how you would insert a customized slider that is set to public viewing. So you need to change that setting from restricted to anyone with a link in the slider panel here first, and then you just insert it into your page after you make that move. So now we're going to move to the last part of publishing your site so it can be viewed online by anyone with a link to your site. So the first thing you want to do, this site is already published, that's why we get this little arrow. But if it's not published, you just click on the button itself. But since I have this arrow, I'm going to click choose publish setting, and as you can see, I have this already, this web address logged in. Let's say I'm going to change it and just use another one. I would recommend to check this off. So let's say this is my domain that I want to use, and I'm going to say save. Now I'm going to click this option again and choose view published site, and this would be my site. And if I click here, you'll see that I'm viewing the pages. However, as I click through the buttons, you'll see that some of the items did not get updated. The reason for that is that when you already have a site and you make specific changes after you published it one time, you would have to choose review changes and publish. Otherwise it's not going to publish the finalized. Remember, I have like 2 drop down menus and I have a contact page, but if I choose view publish site, none of it shows up, right? So if you already published your site, which most of you did for this past week, and then you go back and make the drop down menus and make all these changes, you have to come back here, click on the publish, drop down publish, and then you have to choose review changes and publish. Very important. Then it basically updates you with the new changes based on the nav and all that. See, now it tells me, okay, you have a drop down on portfolio, you have a drop down on contact. Now I'm going to make sure I'm on this tab and click publish. And now if I click view publish site, you'll see that I get my drop down menus here. If I click on the design, you'll see that I'll get my slider, go back to my form, and I'm going to insert the new form where I made the changes. This one, insert. Again, if I'm going to say make sure your pages are centered. So again, if I just click here and say view publish site, you'll see that I don't get the form, right? So what you want to do is you have to, if you're making changes with a site that's already published, you want to say review changes and publish, and then you make sure you click on this page and then click publish. And now if I say, I'm going to go actually to my home page, and I'm going to say view publish site, you'll see that I have my page, I have my drop downs, I have my form that's fully active, and so on. So this is how you create a site. You add forms and slider galleries to your pages, and you add drop down menus and so on, and that's how you would publish your site. And again, if you already publish your site and you made additional changes, you must choose this option for it to update the published site. Otherwise, it's just going to show the old file. So if I, let's say, if I go back here and just say welcome, and maybe make this font super thick. So what I can do is, if I just choose view published site, again, it's going to just reflect the old page. I must click review changes and publish, and then click publish for it to reflect. So now once I'm done, I just go view published site, everything is updated, and this is the link you want to copy and paste on the drop basket for the final submission. And this is how you create a responsive design CMS website in Google Site.